of their despair.
What are you doing?
Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I review Last Epoch. As usual, I will touch on every in-game system while I show you relevant gameplay. Watching this until the end should answer you a couple of questions. Is the game worth it? And why would you play it over the established ARPGs on the market in 2024? And now, getting closer and closer to the February release, let me show you what this game has to offer in 2024. I will touch on what will come on release also at the end of the video. This is a game made by 11th Hour Games, a small indie company with less than 25 employees and big dreams. They aim for the sun. Will they get burned or land at least on the moon? Let's find out. Gameplay. The meat of any ARPG. This is what makes it or breaks it for many people. Classes. The game has 5 classes at the moment and each of them have 3 class masteries. The Sentinel class in Last Epoch is a warrior who can choose from 3 different masteries to suit their playstyle. The Forge Guard is the tank. I didn't play it, but from what I see you can do a lot of stuff with shields and can summon some weapons, so I guess minion build is available for this mastery. The Paladin is a holy crusader who draws on the light within to empower and heal his allies. He can unleash divine wrath on his enemies, burning them with holy fire, smiting them with lightning, and purifying them with his aura. And this is an old hammer throw build I had. It seems it's still working. For context, initially your hammer is thrown in front of the character, but you can build it so it persists for longer periods of time and spins around the character. The Void Knight is a dark warrior who has embraced the void and uses it to his advantage. He can create echoes from his actions, cleave through enemies with void energy and consume their essence with his attacks. I got this old Warpath character I made a year or so ago. He deals void damage and is pretty fun. It's a classic spin to win build available in any RPG. The Acolyte class is the dark spellcaster in Last Epoch. She can also choose between 3 different masteries. The Necromancer makes an army of undead and swarms her enemies. The army consists of skeletal mages and wraiths, on top of the default skeletons, volatile zombies and bone golem acolytes gets by default. The best thing is you can spec each summon to do a certain damage type. Pretty cool when all your minions do fire damage, to be honest. The Lich is the subclass that does things with her life and the life of her enemies. She gets an aura that poisons her and her foes and has a lot of skills that recover life. And to top it off, she even has a Reaper form. Last but not least, the Warlock. This mastery will unlock in February 21st at release. Overall, this is the most played class in the game according to Last Epoch builds. The Mage class wields the power of Arcane and he can freeze, burn or shock enemies with a wide variety of skills. Masteries for this class are Rune Master. This is a mage who takes the study of runes to the next level, altering the flow of magic and combining runes to cast new spells. Pretty cool mastery, to be honest with you. I have a blast burning everything in my path with one. Runic Invocation is the best spell in the game. Whenever you directly use an elemental skill, you gain 1 rune of the corresponding element. When you activate Runic Invocation, all active runes are consumed and you cast an unique invocation based off the order and type of runes consumed. It offers fun and cool gameplay. This is the most click-intensive build I've played in this game so far. Sorcerer is just a classical mage. He can cast static orbs, black holes and meteors in addition of the spells he's got from the mage class. Spellblade is a mage that likes to face enemies in close range combat by imbuing his attacks with magic. The Primalist class seeks communion with the power of the earth. It is one of my least played classes, not because it's not good, but I didn't have time to play it. The Primalist 3 masteries are Beastmaster. Well, This is the master of the wilds and beasts. He can summon companions to aid in combat, buff and mend their wounds. I like how almost every class can have some sort of minion build in this game. Druid and Shaman, I never touched those, so I only tell you here they exist and look cool. It is what you expect really. Druid gets to shapeshift into bears and stuff, and Shaman summon totems and cast spells. The Rogue class is the second one that is yet to have all its masteries. Falconeer will be available when the game releases in February. Again, like the Primalist, I only played it a bit, but the two masteries are Blade Dancer. I only got footage from my own low-level character, but it appears very few people play this mastery for some reason, and the best builds are using Shadow Cascade, which is a circular attack also used by the Shadow clones. Marksman is the second mastery for the Rogue, and you better use bows if you choose this. My only gripe with this mastery is the lack of weapons. I mean, crossbows? Hell, even muskets or pistols will be cool. I don't like the fact that the only weapon you can play with is a bow. But other than that, multi-shot, detonating arrows, all the good stuff you would expect. I need to try a ballista build sometimes, as I like anything that involves minions. And this is pretty much it with the classes. Very good variety to choose from. Not a lot of innovation here. I mean, you know what you will get at a glance. And this is not a bad thing, by the way. I like it. Skills and builds. Sadly, you will still need to go look up guides for builds in this game also, because you can't come up with optimal builds by yourself most of the time. By optimal, I mean builds that get you to 100 and let you farm high corruption monoliths. And let's be honest here, people that make builds for a living will min-max way better than any of us can. Because that's what they do. Average gamer just wants to pew-pew stuff. I usually hate looking for guides when playing games, but in RPGs, this just works. The end goal for me is making the build work and collecting all bits and pieces for it to work in order to make a killing machine, destroying screens and screens of monsters with as few clicks as possible. Skills can be unlocked upon reaching certain character levels, after investing a certain number of passive points into a class, or after selecting a mastery class. Each skill has its own skill tree, and this is pretty cool, because this alleviates the Path of Exile problem of overwhelming you with a ginormous skill tree. In this you get many little skill trees, and I kinda like it, but then I don't. As I've already explained, I have no issues copying builds others have perfected. For me, in Path of Exile is easier to copy a build because everything is in one place. And it's easier to respect in that game if you have the currency for it, that is. I have no idea why someone thought it's a good idea to make you level a skill up almost from scratch when you respec or despecialize your skills. Yeah, you get bonus XP, I know, but it's annoying and makes you not want to respec, because doing so it's clunky and takes a lot of unnecessary time. I mean, devs went above and beyond trying to streamline the experience in some areas to make it fast and rewarding, but introduced this time sink for no reason. I have no idea why they thought this must be a big commitment, but I digress. Last Epoch has a ton of viable builds for each class. Of course, some are better than others, and the usual people tend to gravitate towards the best ones. But the variety exists, and they all do the same thing really. It all depends on what gear you have available to you and what's easier to get. Because trying a build that requires 2 or more very rare items to work is ass. So, when seasons come at release, or cycles, or however they will be called in this game, the build variety will shrink a bit, because then everyone will want cheap and effective builds as their league starter. And last thing, the skills in this game are looking cool and they are varied enough, and it's satisfying to use them. What I'm trying to say is playing the game feels good and rewarding. Items. I'll say it again. At the surface level, this area of the game is not innovating. And that is a good thing, meaning you see all item rarities you are used to from other ARPGs. Up to a point, that is. Common items don't have any affixes. Magic items have one or two affixes, which can be prefixes, suffixes, or both. Rare items have 3 or 4 affixes. Exalted items have one or more tier 6 or tier 7 affixes. Set items are uniques that also grant bonuses from having other parts of the same set equipped. Sets will typically have 2 to 4 pieces. Unique items has stats and effects that cannot be found on lower rarity items. Uniques cannot be crafted on. Tier 6 and 7 affixes cannot be crafted through crafting, but crafting otherwise works the same for exalted items as it does for magic and rare items. Legendary or red items are created in the Eternity Cache and are a combination of a unique item and an exalted item. Tier 6 and 7 affixes cannot be created through crafting. All the items have stats that are inherent to it. Those are called implicits. Affixes are the modifiers on the equipment that exist in addition to implicits. They can be present on the item when it's dropped, or they can be added and modified later through crafting and using shards. The number of affixes on an item often determines its rarity. Unique items can grant stats and special effects which do not appear as normal affixes on magic or rare items. Uniques provide new synergies between existing mechanics, introduce entirely new mechanics, and more. These sometimes change how a build works or even enable builds. Crafting. The game feels great when you are hunting for items in the monolith, and a huge part of that is the extensive crafting you can do in this game. I shit you not, I believe this is the best crafting system you saw in an ARPG to date. Feel free to say this is not true in the comments below. The game lets you change or upgrade almost any affix, if you have forging potential left on that item, that is. That's where the RNG comes into play. You can fail miserably at upgrading your items or ending up with a tier 20 rare item at level 5. 20 is the sum of affixes on an item. If all 4 of them are tier 5, that's tier 20 rare. Forging potential is a property that all normal magic and rare and exalted equipment items have, which is used at the forge to perform crafting actions. Once an item runs out of forging potential, it can no longer be crafted on, but is still able to be used. Higher rarity items will generally drop with more forging potential. Shards can be used to add new affixes to items or to increase the tier of an existing affix by 1. An item can have 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes, and each affix can be crafted up to tier 5. When adding a shard to an item, you have a chance to achieve a critical success. A critical success upgrades the tier of an affix on an item in addition to the normal upgrade the shard provides. A critical success does not cost any crafting materials or forging potential, and cannot upgrade an affix above tier 5. Basically, a critical success means it upgrades 2 times. Runes and glyphs. We have in the game so far the run of shattering, which destroys an item, creating shards from his affixes. The number of shards created is random for each affix, equal to the tier of the affix at maximum and 1 at minimum. The rune of refinement. This rerolls the values for each affix but does not change their tiers. Each affix is rolled individually, so some may have better values than others. The rune of removal. Removes a random affix on an item, returning a number of shards equal to its tier. Rune of Discovery. Adds random tier 1 affixes to all empty affix slots on an item. Has an increased chance of rolling rarer affixes. This does not cost forging potential, but cannot be applied to items with 0 forging potential. Rune of Shaping. Rerolls all implicits on an item. Rune of Ascendance. Changes the item into a unique or set item of the same item type. Using this on a silver ring could turn it into any unique ring, including ones that are not silver rings. However, the silver ring cannot be turned into a helmet. None of the other properties of the base item are retained. Rune of Creation. Duplicates the item but reduces the forging potential of both the original and the copy to 0. Glyphs are support items that can be used alongside runes or shards to affect the outcome of crafting. Glyph of Hope. This modifies the outcome of a craft, granting it 25% chance to have no forging potential cost. Glyph of Chaos. Modifies the outcome of a craft when upgrading an affix. Randomly changes the upgrade affix to a different one that can spawn on that item type. It cannot change a prefix into a suffix or vice versa. For example, if you use a fire resistance shard to raise the tier of the fire resistance suffix, the tier would increase as normal and then it would change into a different affix such as cold resistance or increased health. Glyph of Order. Modifies the outcome of craft when upgrading an affix. Prevents the roll of an affix within its range changing when it's upgraded. Glyph of Despair. This has a chance to seal an affix instead of upgrading it. The sealed affix is moved to its own slot, leaving its old slot open for you to add new affix. The sealed affix cannot be modified further, and an item can only have one sealed affix. The chance of seal is higher when crafting on affixes is of lower tiers, of course, and it's also higher for exalted items and items with more affixes. Combat. The combat in Last Epoch is cool for the most part. It feels as good as the combat in Diablo games. It's not as impactful, but hey, they don't have thousands of people to polish those animations, effects and systems. I'm amazed on how this game turned out, to be honest. It's so satisfying to reach a point when you zoom around one of the echoes in a monolith of fate, smashing and destroying everything in your path. A problem I have in all ARPGs is the fact that you have all this mobility and some builds have damage over time effects, meaning you leave behind hordes of monsters that will die after you are more than a screen away. A game I reviewed a week or so ago, Rogue Trader, alleviates this problem by giving you the option to loot stuff before you leave an area. It would be cool to have such a feature in all these ARPGs, because I'm sure people miss a lot of loot. Level design. This is great. I like how you end up doing no backpacking at all most of the time. I don't know how they did it, but there it is. During the campaign, the game had very cool handcrafted areas that felt great. Sadly, in the monoliths, I don't see those tile sets used, or at least not in the way they were used in the campaign. As I like to have the feeling of depth when I'm playing ARPGs, and I believe Last Epoch tries to deliver on that, and usually does it at times, but I still believe Diablo does it better. Progression and endgame. Will the game keep you playing after you got bored of your first character or you get best in slot gear? I'll not get deep with any of these, but here you go, a short description of each system. Dungeons can be accessed from certain zones on the world map. Their waypoint also becomes available once visited. A dungeon requires a specific dungeon key to enter, which is expended upon use and cannot be regained. Keys have a slightly low chance to drop from rare monsters and bosses above a certain area level. Bosses in the Monolith of Fate are guaranteed to drop a key upon defeat. The arena is accessible from Champions Gate. The Monolith of Fate contains timelines. They can be navigated to their end and beaten in order to receive a blessing that grants various buffs to the character. Initially, only one timeline is unlocked. Timelines are interconnected on the world map, and they are unlocked successively by taking various paths over the course of completion. Timeline progress persists between logouts. Each timeline contains a web of nodes, which can be individually completed to collect stability and rewards. When a node is completed, more nodes are revealed. Players start off in the center of the web when the timeline is accessed for the first time. Eco rewards. A treasure chest for opening is rewarded after portaling out and completing the echo, proportional to the enemies killed. The chest can drop any time of items, glyphs and runes. Echoes also grant an additional node-specific reward, if completed on the first attempt. Normal nodes grant additional loot, claimable from the reward crystal after the node is completed. 3 tomes of experience, piles of gold, assorted affix shards, glyphs or runes, assorted rare items of a given type, an unique or set item, an arena key of memory above level 90. I like this for the most part. These nodes are like maps in Exile. After the 3 level 90 timelines are conquered, you can activate empowered mode by touching the crystal at their junction. From then on, level 100 variants of all timelines can also be attempted, which start off with 100 corruption. Empowered timelines work much like their regular counterparts, with the following differences of course we won't get into. Quality of life features. The game has a loot filter feature. And to be honest, you can filter anything you want with it. It's so cool. I usually get one from the internet, but it's really easy to understand if you put some time into it. If you get close to a portal that makes you leave a level, you automatically enter it without even clicking it. I hate that feature. Whoever thought this is a good idea, my guy, listen. You save a potential click I have to make in a click heavy game. Wow, thank you. How many times I end up entering or leaving a level by mistake, I lost count. Please make it so you need to click in order to travel, or make that portal area very small. But I'd prefer to click, to be honest. Just do it. Thank you. You auto pick gold. You store all crafting items with a press of a button. Take that, Diablo-like Exile. You have unlimited tabs to store gear, or I think it's unlimited. They can be configured as you please, and even have a search feature. Only if the 8000 Blizzard developers could figure this one out without putting extra load on the servers. Lol. The game doesn't waste your time most of the time. It lets you do what you came here to do. Kill hordes of monsters. Minimal story. Short campaign, meaning you reach the beginning of the endgame pretty fast. This is why the respect being the way it is, it's so weird to me. Everything in the game lets me just play the game without making it difficult for no reason but that feature. For the love of God, make it so we can retain all our skill points when we change skills. The devs can add gear sets. Along with the quick respect feature, this would be cool to have in my humble opinion. Graphics. First time I played this game I wasn't impressed, but now when I played it after 1 year and a bit, I noticed the developers changed entire areas, facelifting old levels. They also added a lot of depth into the campaign levels. The skills have great FX, good and fluid animations all around, but I'd like more lights used along with the skills. Meaning I like the skills I use to lit up the environment. And at the end game the echoes are a bit hit and miss for me. So some of the snow levels are too white for my taste, making the map hard to discern. Overall I like the art direction of the game. The sound is good, it also has music. I played with it muted, but from what I heard it's good. Menu and UI. These look cool. The UI does its job without being annoying or intrusive. Nothing else to add here. Devs clearly inspired themselves from other ARPGs, and that's a great thing. If they take what's good from the competition, that is. Performance. The game lags a bit when you loot a lot of FX shards from the ground, but it runs with no issues even with a screen full of effects and stuff. The loading times are okay. The game is mostly responsive. There is only this delay when you enter a new area, and I think it's a server issue, but other than that it's a smooth experience. Story.
Submit. You are no longer worthy.
Be gone from this land.
My flames will scour this place. So be it then. Perish. Pathetic.
I do not have much longer.
There is one. Somewhere. I can't talk about it as I skipped everything. This is not why I played this game, and I'm grateful I'm not required to do much story in this. Lost Ark, for example, is on the other side of the spectrum. The amount of stupid dialogue that you need to skip in that game is mind-boggling. I would delete 90% of dialogues from that game and I believe it would make the experience 10 times better. What I'm trying to say is, if you can deliver a good story, don't try to make it long. For the love of God, don't. Just don't. So Last Epoch delivers for me. It has some lore, but I can't talk about it other than I like jumping to different timelines. This is how I would picture a game made by Christopher Nolan. Conclusion. Where does this game sit along with its main competitors, Path of Exile and Diablo 4? Depending on what you value most, for most people this game will sit between Path of Exile and Diablo 4. For me, depending on what league mechanics devs you put into the game, Last Epoch would be the first, followed by Path of Exile with Diablo 4 in the last place. I'll review the next season of Diablo for sure, stay tuned for that. No matter how you order these three games, it should be clear for everyone by this point we have a new heavyweight in the ARPG space. Last Epoch is worth it if you like this genre and find Path of Exile and Diablo 4 and Grim Dawn lacking, or simply want to see what's this fuss all about. The value proposition is pretty high too, the game being sold for $34. Compared with Diablo, well, we can't even compare the games. This could cost $100 and I would still get more entertainment out of each dollar spent on the game. So Path of Exile is the most hardcore of the three. Diablo is the casual game with frustrating and bad in-game systems, and this one sits right in the middle. We'll be able to fully compare the games after release when we see what seasonal content will look in Last Epoch. So with all of the above, I give this game a 9 out of 10. I think this is the first time on the channel, as I'm not giving high scores like AGN does. So if you stay this long, it's time to talk a bit about what's next after the February 21st release. But first, pause the video to subscribe. Thank you. This is an unofficial roadmap and most likely does not contain all the features planned for launch, and certainly not everything afterwards. So roadmap to 1.0, that's the release. Remaining masteries, Falconeer and Warlock. Item factions, Merchants Guild and Circle of Fortune. Look this one up yourself, I'm pretty hyped about this feature. Server problems, stability improvements. I also noticed some people rubber banding in towns and I have this weird delay when I want to travel. From the moment I press the key to the moment the game starts loading the new area, it takes a few seconds. It's annoying and I believe it has to do with server performance, as I don't remember it being an issue when I played in offline mode. Improvements to the endgame experience. The true offline mode. Polish. Bug fixes, optimization, combat feel, quest improvements, UI updates, etc. Flex features. Campaign improvements and cutscenes, new update enemies, game balance changes, and many more. I will leave the link in the description if you want to check out the forum discussion. And I will revisit the game somewhere in the future to see how it stands when it's fully released. But as I see it now, it's a win for the developers for sure. I can't see them screwing it up at the release. Show them AAAs how it's done. So this is pretty much it guys. Until next time, take care and see ya.